when it comes to hiring new people, I had people that I thought when I hired them, they were going to be the next star. They were going to be the next superstar. And what happened? They turned into a failure. They didn't perform whatsoever. And then there's people who I always thought, that guy is a little bit, I'm not sure, I'm taking a chance on him, and they turn into great people. Okay, sometimes, unfortunately, it doesn't say on their forehead whether they are a successful salesperson or a low producer, okay? So the only way to find out is you need to hire them, okay? And sometimes when you're in doubt, sometimes, give him a chance and hire him anyway. Now, how should you do it? You should always give someone high expectations and a lot of workload in the beginning, in the first 3 months. And what you do is you are in a high-producing, fast-paced environment, and you expect your expectations. You help them with a training plan. And once you did all those things, you need to let them go. You need to drop them in the cold water, okay? And either they will swim and they will survive and they will do well, or they will drown and they will sink, okay? So you can't let someone drown and sink right from the start, because that's not fair. You need to enable them and train them. But once you gave them all the tools, you need to see what they're capable of, and then you might get surprised. An important factor for a leader is when people come to you and they have all these expectations of you, okay? And they say, I couldn't do this job because you didn't tell me how it was done, or you didn't show me how it was done, okay? So you need to teach them responsibility so that they are responsible for their own success. And if they want something, they need to come to you and ask you, or they need to find the solution somewhere and ask someone, but it needs to be their responsibility, and they can't use the excuse that you didn't teach them or you didn't tell them, and that's why they didn't perform. So they must come to you for advice and not you to them, so that you're always chasing them and hopefully they know everything. If there's something that they can't solve, they must be educated or trained to always come to you and ask. Remember, you will only be able to make positive changes if you really know what the problem is. So if you have a problem in someone's performance, you must really analyze what the real problem is, why this person isn't performing. And it can be a number of reasons, okay? But you cannot improve something if you don't know where the problem lies. So that's why you need to always look at reality, and you need to see it as it is, not how you wish it would be, or you think it could be. You need to use facts and you need to use reality, and based on that, you can make actual changes. In every team, you have great people and you have average or bad people, let's say average producing people. And what do most people do is they let the good performing people be on their own, and they focus on the, let's say, worse or average performing people, because they try to force them to become better. But sometimes you can't ride a dead horse. And your time is better spent with the people who are already successful to help them to become more successful than to try to turn someone into something that they're not. One of the issues with most salespeople is that once in a while they get this huge potential client, and I call this elephant hunting. When they say, hey, I have this great client, and if I have this client, it's basically worth my entire commission for an entire month. Well, the problem is that elephant hunting doesn't work, because usually those big clients don't come, okay? And some salespeople, they spend all their time and energy on this one particular client, and they leave everybody else behind. And because of that, they fail to make any other sales. And what happens at the end of the month, and I've seen it 100 million times, that one big client never came, and they failed to contact other clients in the meantime, and the sales result at the end of the month was 0. So if you know that as a leader, you must be aware if you recognize an elephant, so to speak, in your client's portfolio, and you must say, look, that's great, and if it comes, that's great, but you must ensure that he contacts other clients despite that one big client. You need to get rid of people who emotionally block you or drain your energy. Sometimes you have a team, let's say of 10, 20 people, and there's one person who doesn't do anything wrong per se, who doesn't really, let's say, who's maybe an okay performer, but he somehow blocks you or bothers you emotionally, and because of that, you can't fully develop your potential as a leader. And sometimes it's better to get rid of that one person because he's blocking you. Maybe he's constantly negative, or maybe he's influencing the others in a negative way. Then you need to get rid of that person, okay? You need to feel content and happy as a leader, and you can't allow that your energy and the team's motivation and energy gets tainted or destroyed by one individual. So you need to get rid of that person as soon as possible. Well, there's two types of motivation. There is external motivation and there is internal motivation. When you start out in a new job, obviously as a leader, you need to motivate your people and you give them a lot of tools, incentives, and things, and you have daily contact and you motivate them externally. However, someone needs to have an internal motivation, an internal drive or fire to perform on their own, whether they're getting outside motivation or not. So that's why you must sit down with everyone and you must understand what drives them and develop a personal plan or goal setting plan with them so that they develop that internal drive, internal motivation. Because at some point you can't keep motivating them. They need to be able to motivate themselves. Only then you can have a successful team. There's different motivations how people get motivated. And in a sales organization, I would encourage you to have a list of, let's say, target list or a sales results list always on the wall. And that list is very, very important factor because some salespeople want to get to the top of that list and they want everybody else to see that they're at the top of the list. So it can be a very strong driving force for them. And the people who are at the bottom of the list, they maybe don't want to be at the bottom, so they want to try to move up to the top, okay? So a list that everybody can see of how well everybody's doing is a great tool and a great motivator, okay? And sometimes there's a negative person, and they try to explain to you and tell you why it cannot be done, and the market is bad, and the clients are bad, and the product is bad. But then at the same time, you have several examples of people who are doing, let's say, 10 times better than one person, and there is no discussion, there's no argument, because there is people with the same market, the same circumstances who are doing much better. So obviously that person has an attitude problem. So having a sales list with the performance each month or every day where everybody can see it is a very important motivational factor.